I'm Abby and that's Kevin. And we're just going to ask you a few questions.
Yeah. And what was it like when you're olden days, like inside in school, and what did you do?
When I was at school,
Yeah.
well, we learned usual subjects. We learned Irish and English and maths, you know, geography. We went to school from, I think, 9 o'clock in the morning to 3 o'clock, 5 days a week. And we learned those subjects. We didn't do any PE or anything like that. We were just, when we went to school,
Just for work?
well, yeah, just for learning.
Yeah.
And also where we had religious instruction as well. The clergyman, you see, it was a Protestant school as opposed to a Catholic school.
Yeah.
You understand? So the school was, you know Cashel, you know where the Palace Hotel is?
Yes.
Yeah.
Cashel. Well, if you went inside the gate there, there's a building on the left. It's not occupied now. The palace don't seem to use it for anything. And there's an upstairs and a downstairs. Well, our classroom was upstairs, so we went up the steps and we went. That's where the classroom was. And we had one teacher, and her name was Miss Argue. A peculiar name, but that was her name, Miss Argue. And we went in. We lived 5 miles away. We lived in a place called Longfield near Goods Cross. We had to travel in there on a pony trap every day, and we got in there and we came home again then when the school was over at 3 o'clock, and we got home about 4 o'clock. Now, in that era, that was the war era, you see. It was the 1939-45 war, and things were very restricted. When I say restricted, there were no motor cars on the road, only for the vet,
Military, yeah.
the doctor, and the priest, maybe the surgeon. I don't know. I'm not sure. I presume they had one as well. But the farmers had in a car, or your teacher had in a car. Nobody like that, because there was no petrol. Petrol was so scarce, you see, because all that was sort of imported. So anything that was imported, like tires for bicycles, spare parts, all those things tea were very scarce, and sugar was scarce. Why sugar was scarce, I don't know. When we grew beet, I can't tell you that. But that's the way it was. Things were very scarce. You couldn't get this and you couldn't get that because of the war. It was a major war between... And you couldn't get anything in, like... You couldn't get things imported. Ships were being blown up and everything wasn't working properly. And then when the war ended in 1945, things got back to normal again. Now Ireland had plenty of meat and stuff like, and milk and stuff like that, because it's an agricultural country, you know. So that's what happened. We'll have to get back to the school now. We were up there in it all day from 9 to 3. We got out for play at lunchtime, and I think possibly 11 o'clock. And my mother would have given us sandwiches. And I remember we always had a kettle of hot water, and we always had cocoa. Now why it was always cocoa, I don't know. But I never, since my school days ended, I never drank cocoa since, because I had enough cocoa, I can tell you. And she used, now butter was a bit scarce in those days, so sometimes my mother didn't have enough margarine or butter to put on the bread, and she used to put jam or marmalade on the bread. And the thing was that the marmalade or bread would soak through the bread because there was no butter on it, you know. Yeah. You had a kind of a soggy sandwich, you know.
Yeah, when you think though, like, that they would have butter when all the cows and the milk and everything?
Well, it was scarce somehow. I don't know why now, but butter was a bit scarce. But I suppose that's the way things were. But sugar was definitely scarce, the ration. And tea was the worst thing of all, because Ireland being a big tea drinking country, you know, but it was very scarce. So anyway, we went to school there, and now that school is closed, that building is closed down, it's belonged to the palace, you see. And that school is incorporated with the junior school up in Larkspur. The government arranged that they had 2 classrooms there, and they have them now there, and there's about 40 children who go to school. In my day, when I went to school, there was only about 11 of us, and the Thompsons were a fairly big family. So we were most of the school. There was 2 Spearmans and 2 Caldwells, and I don't remember anybody else. That's only 4, and there was about 6 of us. So that was about it. There was only 10 on the roll call.
You do for like St. Patrick's Day and Christmas and...
Oh well,
there was no
we
parade,
stayed at home.
It was just like a
It was
normal
a
day.
holiday, yeah.
Yeah.
We had the normal holidays that you would have now. We had Saturday, Sunday, and Christmas Day, and all those things.
And did you have like turkey or goose? Or...
We used to have a goose. We didn't have a turkey. I mean, people really are better off now, but unfortunately there are some categories of people that aren't as well off because they've got a huge mortgage or they got themselves into debt by building a big house or living too high, you know. But that's their own fault, I suppose. We didn't do things like that in those days because we didn't have a car first. The car is a huge expense now. Car costs 2,000 or 3,000 a year to run. But petrol, tax, insurance, and you've all these new charges coming in. I got my household bill today, 157 for the half year. But you see, that's a new thing that's come in. That's a new expense which I and everybody else in Ireland that owns a house has to pay. And that we think that's rather unfair. You know, that we're laced with all this. Well, the government have to get in more money because they're deeply in debt and they're trying to get in and pay off a huge debt of 3.5 billion, I think it is, per year. You see, so that's the difficulty.
Like, did you go out on any shopping days or anything like we do now, like clothes shop or anything?
Well, we might have gone with my mother now, but you see, we didn't do. We only went up to the local shop, which was up in Goods Cross, only a mile away, and we'd buy what we had to buy, and we'd bring home our messages, either in a pony truck or on a bicycle.
What bread and milk like? Did they cost much back then? Or
No, milk would have been very cheap, I would imagine. Again, I don't know how much it was, but we collected it from a neighbour, and my mother paid them once a month, and it wouldn't have been very dear, no. You bought milk, in those days, you buy a pint of milk, or you bought a gallon of milk. And probably we bought a gallon of milk because it was a good household of us. A pint would be no good, you know what I mean? So I'm quite sure we collected a gallon possibly Monday, Wednesday and maybe Friday, you know, that sort of thing. Because it wouldn't keep very long either because...
there's so many of you.
Pardon?
There were so many of you in the house.
Well, there was 8 of us in the family. But you see, we didn't have a fridge in those days. See, I'm going back now, 1940, and that's 73 years
You
ago.
need to put salt or something on the meat to keep it.
Yes, possibly yes.
Like on the bacon and stuff.
Well, bacon, you got this hard cure bacon which would keep forever anyway, you know. It was hung up, you know, in ceiling and that sort of thing. But we didn't kill a pig, but you could buy that sort of bacon to keep a long time.
Was there any planes or anything back then?
Oh, there were planes, yes, there were. I don't know when Shannon started up, but I think Shannon started up around about the mid-40s, you know.
Was it expensive to go on the planes and stuff? And
Well, it
boats?
would have been, but I'd say we didn't go.
Yeah.
So I don't really know. We used to go down to, talk about the holidays, we used to have one day out and we used to go to Tremor in the bus. The school obviously hired a bus and we all went down for one day out. I remember one day we went down and it was raining and raining and raining and we were meant to have our lunch on the, I can still see the table that was left outside the hotel for us to have our lunch, you know. But of course, it was raining so much that obviously we couldn't have lunch outside for pegging all day, so they let us into the hotel. So again, I can't remember what the hotel was like, but I presume we had brought our sandwiches and whatever we were going to eat for the day, so we had it in the hotel.
Very good.
Did you like the days back then, or did you like the days now?
Oh well,
And for what
I
reason?
suppose I would say I prefer the days now, because
All the machinery and all the stuff.
well, I don't farm anymore. My son Philip, that's the father of the twins.
Yeah.
He does the farming now. I wouldn't be able to manage to do the work of the farm now because I'm too old and I'm too slow. I wouldn't be strong enough to do it. You see, calving cows and milking cows would be too much.
What do you like about the days back then?
Well, the days back then,
Or did you like them at all?
well, we did like them. And I suppose we liked we always thought, or at least I always thought, it never really rained much in those days.
It didn't, it's true.
We used to go down to the river and swim down at the river and the shore down in Longfree. And we just thought the summer was one fine day after another. I mean, the days then, you see, as I said, it was 70 years ago. And 70 years ago I was 13.
Yeah.
And I went to school then when I was 12. I went away to school. I was very privileged.
You went boarding.
I went to a boarding school.
Where did you go to boarding school?
In Waterford, Bishop Fry's. I went there for 4 years. And then when I left, I went to the Tech for a short while. Because my mother was very hot in this education, but I wasn't so hot on it, I can tell you.
Yeah, okay.
But anyway, when I was 17 then I went and I worked in England for 3 years.
And what did you work over there?
I worked on a farm there.
Oh, very nice. Like on a sheep farm or
No, it's a dairy farm in Derbyshire. And that was a very hard winter. That was a very hard winter in 1947 with a lot of snow. And the spring of 1948, like the same winter, was very, very, very cold and lots of snow. You couldn't see the road or the fields or anything, not for weeks and weeks. It lasted 6 weeks.
How did they clear the snow from the road?
Well,
They didn't have snow.
it just melted. I don't remember them having snow plows and bulldozers. Now the road I'm talking about, it wasn't a main road. It was like
a laneway.
like a laneway, a small road, like going up and down, you know.
Yeah.
It wasn't like the motorway
Yeah.
going towards Dublin like that.
Horses and carts could still go through the snow, yeah?
A horse could go, yeah. Because the man I work for now, he put insurance. He made a kind of a sleigh for the horse to pull, and see the milk. I think normally was collected in the lorry, but the lorries weren't able to run. So the factory where he brought the milk was only a short distance away, about a mile. So he tackled up the horse, and he got an old door, or a good door I suppose, off one of the buildings, and that slid along the snow, and he put the churns on top of it.
God, that was a good idea.
Yeah, good idea, wasn't it? I remember him doing it quite well, and he said, the weather's so cold, he said, we won't bother cooling the milk, because they used to cool the milk in those days, because with water, they used to run water over a cooler. But see, there weren't bulk tanks in those days, not like there are now, you know.
What used you hold them in back then?
The churns. With modernisation, things have moved on so much now, you know. Like there's very little hay made now, because it's all silage. Because silage is much easier to make, because you don't need so much fine weather. You get fine day today, you can wrap it today and it's finished. But you see the hay, except you get good weather, it takes 4 or 5 days to secure it, you know. So that's the way it is.
You used to have hay pikes.
Yeah, we used to make pikes. Well, that was in Ireland now. Ireland is the only place that I ever saw pikes. Now they might have made pikes in Scotland. I don't know. I was never there in the summertime. But pikes were more an Irish thing. In England now, what they used to do, they made big stacks. They just sweep it up when I was there, with a tractor and a kind of a sweep thing, kind of a big fork, rather like things they lift the bales up today, except
Yeah,
they
great.
had tines on it, like that, and they'd sweep up the hay, and then we forked it up into a big stack of all about 20 or 30 pipes, and then it was baled out of that by a stationary baler. You see, they hadn't got around to having balers that picked it up off the ground. You see, it had to be forked into it.
Oh, to make a bale.
To make a bale, and then
yeah.
it all just forked in, and then it came out at the other end, you know.
Yeah.
It was done the hard way. But that's, you see, again, modernisation, the other balers hadn't come. The square baler hadn't
That would
come.
take fair long, forking it all into
Well,
it.
it would, sure. No other way.
Was there any webbing or anything around it, yeah?
It was tied with wire.
Oh, baling.
Yeah, there were two wires, same way as a bale is now today, you know, with a string going around it. It had two wires on it, and with a bit like that, kind of a ring on one end of it, and when the bale was in the machine, the man tied the two bits of twine each side, and then when the bale came out and expanded, it tightened. They were terribly heavy. You couldn't fork them. They'd weigh about twice the bale, twice the weight of a bale, a normal bale that you'd have now, because they were about the same size, but they were so compressed, you know.
Did you work anywhere else? Did you work anywhere else?
Not at that particular time. I came back to Ireland and I worked where I live now for my aunts for 7 years. And after that then I went back, I went to Africa for 4 years and I worked in Kenya. And then I came back again in Kenya and I worked in England for 5 years. In the middle of that I got married and I stayed in England we stayed in England for five years. Worked in Cambridgeshire and in Glastonbury. You know, you hear about Glastonbury and all the things they have down there, the concerts and things, you know, don't they? And I lived there, and then where I'm living now, just over the road here, a mile away, I inherited that place in 1965, and my wife and my 2 children came back with us then. So that was what happened then, and been there ever since. And now I've given the farm to Philip, and he runs the farm with his wife, and the twins are there as well. And I'm still living there.
Yeah.
So how long more I'll be there, I don't know.
A long time.
So thank you for coming to our field today and letting us ask you some questions.
That's fine, yeah. Yeah, they asked very good questions.
Did they?
They did, yeah.